Hello and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly hangout where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge, especially Pennsylvania Grand Lodge, statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, send questions and comments to our Twitter page at Mason Roundtable or on the Facebook event page. My name is John Ruark, and I am a past master of the Patriot Lodge number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. I hand it off to Juan Sepulveda.
Hello everybody, Juan Sepulveda from Orange Blossom Lodge number 80 in Kissimmee, Florida, and the host of the Winding Stairs Freemasonry podcast.
Thank you, Juan. Nick Johnson.
Nick Johnson, past master of Corinthian Lodge number 67 in Big Time, Farmington.
Thank you, Nick. Jason Richards.
Hey everybody, my name is Jason Richards. I am the Junior Warden of Acacia Lodge number 16 in good old Clifton, Virginia, and tonight I'm joined by my very good friend and Shriner, Mr. Matt Smith.
Nice. Pheasant. So, for those on the podcast, he's not really talking to his friend Matt Smith. It's his pop action figure.
Of Doctor Who.
Of Doctor Who. Great. At least it's not comic books yet. And last but not least, our second ever returning guest host, what are you now, worshipful brother?
Missed it by this much.
Come
on.
One of the past masters of Greenleaf Lodge number 561 in Allentown, Pennsylvania, Paul Chamberlin. Paul, say hi.
Hi. Just one of the select few. There's 132 of us that are past masters of Greenleaf Lodge number 561 in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I'm joined by my livelihood.
Angry Orchard, Hoppin' Mad Cider.
Another fine product of the Boston Beer Company.
Alrighty. So let's dive right into Masonic news. We actually have a lot going on, and I'll start with an article that was brought to us by James Jenkins on Twitter, where $1 million was stolen from the Masonic organization, and $240K of it was spent on Grizzly tickets. So as the article goes, this was in Memphis, Tennessee, and his employer was the United Supreme Council 33. Still looking into what grand organization that falls under, but nonetheless, it's over $1 million embezzlement from a Masonic organization. So that's
for Grizzlies tickets. Seriously?
They bought all the
rest. It could be worse. It could be Timberwolves tickets.
Ooh. Hey, you know what? We
Or
finally
Nats
got rid
tickets.
of that deadwood known as Kevin Love, and so we're good to go. So, I mean, love that guy.
Wow.
Welcome to Sports Talk.
It makes Jonathan very awkward if you talk about sports. We should move on.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
It brings up so many horrible childhood memories for John.
Well, so despite that, $1 million embezzlement is a horrible thing, and one article I remember reading a long time ago on Chris Hodap's blog was of a treasurer who got expelled from the fraternity for embezzling funds, and so that's definitely something that Masons are not supposed to do. So you'll see the link for that in the show notes later on. Also, I wanted to highlight the second article, which is that there is a new academic lodge, and that is the officers of State College Lodge under dispensation have had their picture taken. It was posted by TPM, also known as the Past
Master.
Who was down there for their installation ceremony. You can see them here. They are wearing red collars with all their officers' jewels. Very handsome. It has to do with obviously their college colors. So just like the Patriot Lodge officers do, we wear green and gold. This brand new academic lodge was formed under dispensation. Similar rules apply. They are basically on a year-long probation just to make sure that they can operate the lodge, keep everything healthy, with only a few restrictions. So congratulations, guys, for kicking off an academic lodge. And if you want to hear more about academic lodges, we have an episode on that. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but that's what Google's for.
Jim, I have a question. I'm used to seeing the squaring compasses with the G in the middle. What does the S stand for?
State.
For all those conspiracy theorists out there.
Let's see.
To think about what it could be.
Yep, down the bottom on the altar.
It's actually the family crest of the family L.
What?
It's not an S.
You got me all confused now. So
might be a sports reference.
Superman.
I was going to bring up that we're doing Pennsylvania tonight. You talk about State College. Some people might think that's Penn State. You forgot to mention the college there. I'm pretty sure that's NC State, and the S, correct. That block S, is one of their primary logos.
Yes, that would be correct.
Oh, and by the way, episode 40, if you're interested in academic lodges.
40, with also our friend and brother Scott Sherman. Alrighty. Any other conversation on that? Yeah,
good for them.
Lodges.
Good luck, because the first couple of years of an academic lodge are rough.
They're beautiful. It does require strong leadership from any new lodge, more especially academic lodges.
Hashtag growing pains.
Love it. And then the last article I wanted to mention tonight is we've had a couple of people mention on our Facebook page. This one was brought to us by Reverend Hank Pierce, which is the rededication or installation ceremony of the time capsule that was removed from Boston. We covered that as it was late-breaking news a couple months ago in the fall, I believe, and now that they are done with that, they had a very large turnout. Some reports say over 1,000 Masons from Massachusetts were there to rededicate, reconsecrate the time capsule. Pretty neat.
They added additional items, including silver minted coins from 2015. There's a new silver plaque, and it all was contained within a new container that is sealed. It has no oxygen inside to avoid any deterioration of the items included in there.
And there's also a treasure map.
And only Nicolas Cage knows where it is.
Get some lemon juice and you're good to go.
Well, but that's awesome. Congratulations, guys. I'm really excited to hear that, because once the time capsule was opened and all this Masonic stuff was found inside, I was like, I'm surprised there hasn't been at least a big public announcement or press release from the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts when the actual event happened. Like, hey, we're still here. We did that. We had a part of that. And so at least this is a good way for closure, a nice public ceremony where all the Masons from the state can come out and do good PR for their activity. So.
And show off that awesome tricorn GM hat.
That's awesome. All right, that's about what I got for Masonic news. Anything else, guys? All right, hearing none, let's move into everyone's favorite trivia quiz show, MMQOT. And what does that stand for, Nick?
That would stand for Masonic Monday Question on Tuesday. So, thank you very much, John, and let me pull up the question All right, so we had a lot of really great answers from our listeners, and I'll just run quickly through the list and then give the answer from last week. So Justin Miller, Greg Guffey, Jonathan Primo, Christopher Croto, Willem Kosen, Lou Bedford, Jared Shemensky, Simon Dick, Alex Coleman, Christian Dubs, Joey Boyer, Tom McCoy Jr., Jeff Blowmaker, Robert Scogan, and Josh Bartz all answered correctly. And the answer to that one was the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks, also known as the Elks. All right. So we will move on to the Masonic Monday question on Tuesday. For the week of June 22nd, this week's question is, Saint John the Baptist is a figure of prominence in more than just Christianity. He is recognized and honored as a prophet within the religion of Islam. This includes numerous mentions in the Quran. Your question within this Islamic context, where is John the Baptist's tomb? When you have the answer, send it to masonicmonday@gmail.com. Don't forget to include your lodge name, your lodge number, and the hashtag Happy St. John's Day. Back to you, John.
Also, be careful with your answer because I had to send like 5 different ones to Nick before he'd accept them.
Actually, I accepted your first one. I just wanted you to give the other one. So it's not a trick question. It's just a complicated question. It just looks easy on the surface.
It's not you, it's me. It's complicated. Again.
Exactly. Man, it sounds like high school again.
That was like my Facebook profile through most of college.
But hey, Nick, you did bring up a good point. That was the other thing. I knew there was something stuck in my head.
St. John's Day tomorrow.
Yay!
Mm-hmm.
So if you like St. John, which one? You'll find out if you go back to one of our other St. John's episodes.
Let me Google that for you. No. But, is anybody doing any St. John's Day things?
I'm working.
Any kind of... Because the lodge that used to do the procession that I was in isn't doing it anymore. Not that I'm ashamed of them, but yeah, we're not doing it anymore.
We were exhorted in lodge to attend a religious service. As I attend church every weekend, that's not terribly onerous.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, episode 20.
For one of them.
Thank you. Have to watch 20 to find out which one. So happy solstice, guys. There's some really cool solstice-related astronomy that went on over the weekend. And again, if you want to learn more, Google it. Now onto this week's topic. Why we brought back the very knowledgeable Paul Chamberlin is to talk about Pennsylvania. Now,
and why they do things weird.
Why do they do things weird? Besides having Paul Chamberlin as a member, I wanted to at least share the background behind this. When Paul and I knew each other way back during college days, and once he became a Mason, I became a Mason shortly before then, kind of influenced him, got him the spark. I went up to go to his initiation, also to his raising.
To my raising.
To your raising, that's right. I did see a first degree, but much later. Thank you. So I couldn't make the first 2. Said I got to go see the third, and I thought I was in a clandestine lodge. It was very, very different from the experience I was used to. Had no clue what I was getting myself into. I felt like I needed an adult, and yet over time I learned why Pennsylvania is different. So that's why I brought Paul on. He did later on give a presentation during my year as Worshipful Master at the Patriot Lodge. He came down and discussed the differences, both in a tiled and untiled session, and you'll hear why in a little bit. And basically, let's go from there. So, Paul,
Yes.
Why is Pennsylvania different from most states in the United States?
Well, it's a funny question. If you ask a lot of Masons in Pennsylvania, they will tell you that, well, we, Pennsylvania Masons, we're York Rite, and everybody else is Scottish Rite. And because, we say it right, we're ancient York Masons. Everyone else is Scottish Rite, and that's why they're different. And of course, that's not true. We're all York Rite Masons. When you go to Royal Arch, you continue the story in your 4th degree in York Rite Masonry. Scottish Rite 4th degree has nothing to do with what we do in the first 3 degrees. So the question is, why are we different? Essentially, it comes down to timing. Basically, what happened was, I'm assuming everyone should be familiar with the concept of modern versus ancient lodges. Pennsylvania started with the modern Grand Lodge. That's the Grand Lodge that Ben Franklin was a Grand Master of. And then we had an ancient Grand Lodge.
Why don't you give us a little bit of history, because we haven't covered that in any previous episode.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, we don't just want them to Google it?
Burn.
All right. Modern Grand Lodge started in 1717 in England. 50, 60 years in, some Masons feel that the modern Grand Lodge isn't doing things the proper way. So they start a new Grand Lodge that they call the Ancient Grand Lodge, which leads to the confusion of the fact that the modern Grand Lodge is older than the Ancient Grand Lodge. But hey, we're Masons. You can figure it out. So we have 2 competing Grand Lodges in Pennsylvania, and it's worth pointing out that in the colonial states, there were 2 competing Grand Lodges pretty much in every jurisdiction. What makes Pennsylvania different is that during the Revolutionary War, the modern Grand Lodge was pretty much exclusively loyalists, and the ancient Grand Lodge was exclusively patriots. So you can imagine when the Revolutionary War ended, what happened to the members of the modern Grand Lodge? They weren't around anymore. So now Pennsylvania is left with an ancient Grand Lodge that doesn't have to answer to anyone but themselves. So later on, in the early 19th century, when all the other Grand Lodges in this country and around the world are going through the great healing, the unification, why you have the UGLE, United Grand Lodge of England, Pennsylvania just essentially says, no, we're good. We don't need to do that. We're fine. We have our ritual. There is no one to heal with. So we'll just keep doing things the way we've always done them. And so while everyone else got a blended work of the ancient Grand Lodge and the modern Grand Lodge, the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania has just kept our ancient ritual all the way through. So we have, by all accounts, the oldest continuous ritual in the world.
That's also why Ben Franklin was expelled, correct?
Absolutely.
He was declared clandestine. He chose the wrong side.
He did. In fact, in a paper, in a couple sources I've read, it says essentially Pennsylvania Grand Lodge modern Masonry died with Ben Franklin.
And when he died, did he get a Masonic funeral?
He did not.
Oh, burn.
Because he was not a member of the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania.
And that's why he's on the $100 bill. Reparation to that,
Yeah. Yeah, we put George on the one, but we'll put Ben on the.
We're sorry, Ben.
So now that we've talked about why we're different, I think the meat and potatoes of this is how are we different. The first thing to point out is the full name of the Grand Lodge is the Right Worshipful Grand Lodge of the most ancient and honorable fraternity of free and accepted Masons of Pennsylvania and Masonic jurisdictions thereunto belonging. And the reason for that is Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania had an awesome habit of chartering Grand Lodges outside, or chartering Blue Lodges outside of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So, for instance, when I give a talk like this, I always like to ask the trivia question. There are 2 United States presidents that were made Masons under the jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. Do you know who they are? Now, the first one, if you know your history, should be obvious because he's the only president from Pennsylvania, and that's James
Ben
Buchanan.
Franklin. I'm kidding.
James Buchanan. But then the second one's a little trickier, and the answer is actually George Washington. When George Washington was made a Mason in Fredericksburg Lodge, they were under the jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania.
But Virginia loves George Washington.
Virginia does love George
We
Washington.
own him now.
Virginia also likes to bring up the fact that George Washington was the charter master of Alexandria Washington Lodge number 22. Now,
Yes, we do.
when this lodge was formed, it was not because there were a group of guys in Alexandria who wanted to form a new lodge. It was formed because there already was an Alexandria Lodge who had a charter under the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, who gave that charter up to become Alexandria Lodge number 22 under the Grand Lodge of Virginia. So there's that.
Boom.
Double burn.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. Let's see. There's other ways we are different.
So to that point,
Okay.
do you think that George Washington went through Pennsylvania ritual for his degree work, vice the Preston Webb ritual we're used to?
Yes, absolutely. George Washington, if he walked into Alexandria Washington Lodge number 22, would not recognize what was going on. But if he walked into Greenleaf Lodge number 561, he would. And that's one of the benefits of the fact that our ritual stayed the same all throughout.
Nice.
So yours is more better.
I didn't say mine is more better, although it is. I just said that it's lasted longer. So, all right. All right. Good night, guys. I'm out. Mic drop. I'm out.
And that's a wrap. Short show tonight.
Yeah. Well, I can hear the pins dropping because everybody's like, wait a second, what?
Wait.
Oh, I got more.
Wash-
I got more mind-blowing revelations for you if you want me to pass them on.
Hit it.
Well, while you're
Actually,
stopping, I mean, I don't know if Juan or Nick or anybody else wants to hop in.
I was going to ask. Now, I know just because they were in my lodge, I know Jason and Jonathan have visited Pennsylvania lodges. Juan and Nick, have you ever visited a Pennsylvania lodge?
I have not.
Juan says he has.
But were you in it for a tiled setting?
Ah, that's right. No, he was not.
Yeah, because
That's-
Juan was at the educational symposium at Brother Sean Gorley's lodge in Wilmington.
That's
but we
right.
didn't actually open lodge for that.
First time.
So,
He was technically in the lodge, but no.
yeah. That's all right. Well, Jonathan's seen a Pennsylvania first degree in Virginia.
Yeah, that was an interesting story. Having the whole degree team from Greenleaf Lodge come down to the George Washington Masonic Memorial and perform first degree in Pennsylvania style. Very, very cool.
And why was that?
Paul, do you care to explain? Why did they come all the way down here? It looks like we've had some technical difficulties and lost Paul. And while he's getting himself back together...
It's your turn to explain, John.
Oh, man. Paul was on a roll.
Well, Pennsylvania is known as the Keystone State. Its capital is something. I can't remember because
Harrisburg.
Harrisburg. There we go. Somebody did not fail second grade.
Just Google it. It's, so actually, the degree team came down for it was a set of three brothers, one of which who lived in this area, but the other two lived up in Allentown, and they all wanted to be initiated under the same lodge, and so they chose to, while the brother was down here, to have the lodge come down and confer the degree on all three candidates. Is that correct, Paul?
No, it's not correct.
Oh,
It's, well, kind of. The father is a past master of our lodge. The three brothers, two of them lived in New Jersey, and one of them lived in Virginia. New Jersey has no problem with men in New Jersey becoming Masons in Pennsylvania, but Virginia has a problem with men in Virginia becoming Masons anywhere but Virginia. So we had to work it out with the Grand Lodge of Virginia. They still wanted the work done in Virginia, but they would allow it to be done by us under PA rules. But we had to come to Virginia to do it. So we did.
that makes more sense. All right. Any questions for Paul before he gets on his next soapbox?
Well, I'm not sure where you're going with this, but I like to figure out what the scene looks like at least before we actually get into any of the crazy ritual stuff. So could you kind of set up the field? I know that some of us aren't sportsy types, but I'd like to know where the players are in terms of in relation from Virginia, or let's say a Preston Webb Lodge versus a
So
Pennsylvania.
you guys have stewards, right?
Haha, funny question. No, we don't have stewards. Well, we do have stewards, but they do what we associate stewards with doing. They're downstairs, not in the meeting. They're cooking our stewards report, depending on what your lodge is.
So how about
But as
those
far as
deacons?
we have deacons, yeah. We have deacons. They sit okay. So a Pennsylvania lodge. The big difference you're going to notice is there are no stewards, which I believe sit in front of the junior warden, right? All right. So instead of 2 chairs in front of the junior warden, you have 3 chairs in front of the senior warden, and those are the senior master of ceremonies, the pursuant, and the junior master of ceremonies.
I'm sorry. What? Pursuant?
What?
Pursuant.
Or do they perceive anything, or what?
It's very hard to perceive things.
They have a couple responsibilities, but the easiest way to think of it is they each are responsible for a door. One of them is responsible for the door to the lodge. One of them is responsible for the preparing room door, and one of them is responsible for the examining room door. We use them for other things like escorting. If we ask for someone to be brought to the altar, a lot of times we'll ask the masters of ceremonies to escort them to the altar, and things such as that. But those are all appointed officers. So if you had a progressive line, you would start as the pursuant, and then junior masters of ceremonies, senior master of ceremonies, junior deacon, senior deacon, junior warden, senior warden, worshipful master, past master, old timer. It goes and goes and goes.
Now, so you have 3 doors instead of, because most lodges I've seen have 2 doors, one for the prep room, one for the Tyler's door.
We have the examination room has its own door. Would be situated at the the northwest of the lodge room.
Wow. So it sounds like you guys need quite a few bodies to really function as a lodge, because at least here it's one of those that you can kind of get away with 7. I mean that's the minimum number. Is there like a minimum number that you have to have present?
I think technically we need the wardens if like in a situation where like there's a blizzard or you just have to open and close the lodge real quick just to say you did it. And this is the part where you have to remind everyone that I do not speak directly for the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. This is off of memory here. I don't have the copy of the Hyman Reason, which is our Constitution, in front of me. I want to say you need the wardens, the master, and the pursuant, and that's all you really need. But for a stated meeting, for a real meeting, you want 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You need 8. Plus, you probably want to have your secretary and your treasurer there too.
And what is this, a Hyman resin that you speak of?
That's the Constitution of the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania.
The Heisman Trophy?
No, not the Heisman Trophy. The Hyman Reason.
I got a sports reference.
Not really. Nice try.
And what's the Heisman for?
Football.
You're doing it.
One day you'll be a real boy, Jonathan.
All right. On that note, so the Heisman Reason.
And if anyone's trying to Google it, the Hyman, it starts with an A. It's AHIAMON. And if you get that far in, it'll probably autofill Reason, because I don't know why else you'd be looking up that word.
We will put a link to it in the show notes to save everyone the trouble.
Thank you. All right, so what's that? So once you're in the lodge, one of the things you're going to notice is the way we dress. All officers wear a tuxedo with tails and white gloves.
So what do you think about our dress code episode we had a couple weeks ago?
It reminded me of something I do constantly when I watch you guys, is that I scream at you like, that's not how it is in Pennsylvania. Like, if I was I know you told the story about how this initially started. You thought about you and me starting a podcast, and if I was a regular on this podcast, you guys would get so mad so fast, because every 5 to 10 minutes I'd be like, well, guys, that's not how we do it in Pennsylvania.
That's why we've only had you on twice, by the way.
And
And
exactly.
that's the reason for this show. So after this show, you should just shut up.
Well, that'll never happen. The members
Until
of
our
Greenleaf-
sports and masonry.
Yeah, the Greenleaf Lodge brethren will tell you I will never shut up. So,
We love you, Paul.
We do.
Everyone's in tuxes, huh?
yeah, well, not all the officers. And also
tails.
and tails. It's tails. Yep. And the master has to wear a top hat. That is not discussable. There's no fun little thing where you get to pick out what hat you want. It's when I picked out my hat, I went to the back to the storage closet and I found the hat that fit me, and that was a 7 5/8, and that's what I wore for my year.
Kind of makes it easy.
Yeah, there was no debate. So it was just a pain in the butt if I had to pass it off for someone to do the degree, if they had to use the hat too, because I'd come back all hot and sweaty. But what are you gonna do?
So do most lodges go dark then, based on its antiquity?
We do go dark. We introduced a motion at the June stated meeting to go dark for July and August, and it is unanimously and loudly passed every time.
Having been in your lodge with no air conditioning, I understand.
Yeah, we have a very beautiful but very old lodge building that does not have air conditioning.
It sounds like Acacia.
Yeah. So
Zing.
we're very grateful.
What else would be different for anyone traveling to Pennsylvania?
The signs we use to address the master are different. The most Grand Lodges, to my knowledge, use the Dugards. Pennsylvania uses the penal signs. I'm obviously not going to demonstrate the difference, but hopefully you guys should know the difference.
Very cool.
And also, I think one of the differences I noticed is I've visited Patriot Lodge, is that in Pennsylvania the master never sits down. The only time as master you sit down is when your presentation for the evening is going on, when your speaker's talking or for whatever reason. That is the only time as a master you will sit down.
The master does a ton of talking anyway.
Yes, the master is very, and that's especially true in the degrees. I think that's where I think Jonathan really had his eyes open. Between the stated meetings, I feel were very similar. Tweaks here or there, verbiage here or there. He sat down most of the time. I stood up most of the time. But overall, you recognize it as a stated meeting. The degrees, while I haven't seen a Virginia degree, I know that they're massively different. And the biggest difference, without I obviously can't discuss it at length, is the web crosswork is very dramatic. It's a very dramatic presentation. The Pennsylvania work is dictatorial. You're told things, and the person telling you that is the master. So I think one of the earliest conversations Jonathan and I had was he talked about how he got, I want to say, the senior deacon chair for one of the degrees. He's like, I'm the senior deacon tonight. And I was like, so you hold a staff. I'm not sure why you're so excited about that.
Calm down, buddy.
As opposed, because in Pennsylvania it's the master. It's all the master.
And in all due respect, it was a little dry, in the sense, in comparative to what we do in Virginia. We have a lot more interaction, but beautiful nonetheless. So I will say, it's definitely the same punchline. It just has a different way of getting to that story. So,
well, that's actually kind of something I was thinking about. Is have you ever seen Emulation Rite or Emulation Ritual?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm based in my knowledge of. I know Jonathan's seen it when we discussed it, and he said it's.
I just saw it a couple weeks ago. We had a British team come to Northern Virginia and actually exemplify their degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's been years. I mean, again, I went to Paul's third degree, and he's been a master and out of the chair already. So it's been a while since I saw a third degree in Pennsylvania, but it is even more different than Pennsylvania. So while there are definitely more similarities than what we have in the Preston Webb ritual, so Paul, you would feel more familiar with the British emulation style. It's not one for one either.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of like it splits. At least emulation, it seems that it kind of splits the difference in that there's a little bit more spreading of the work. Because it sounds like, at least how you're describing it, Paul, is that the master is essentially serving as instructor. You know, he's giving instruction and throughout the degree work. Is that kind of
Absolutely, and I'd also just to, like you for degrees you can bring in other brothers to actually confer the degree. So if you're master for the year, it's not like you're doing every first degree, second degree, and third degree.
Good.
Part of the prerequisites to becoming master is you have to be able to confer. For Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, they say one of the degrees. For our district in particular, we demand all 3 degrees. So I'd conferred 10, 15 degrees before I was master, and then when I was master, I conferred another 5, 10, maybe 5 probably.
And here, are you a member of the York Rite out there in any?
I am not. I made a promise to my wife that I was gonna get through being master of my lodge, and then I'd have more time for my little kids, and that's what I'm doing right now. I very much want to join York Rite.
Okay.
That's my next step. Is York Rite.
Because the reason I ask is that it's kind of interesting is that Pennsylvania seems very much an island in terms of like Masonic knowledge and teaching and other things like that, and it's administratively independent as well. In that I don't believe it's in the General Grand Chapter. I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm pretty sure it's not within the Grand Encampment, but it might be. I'm sure the Facebook page is probably lighting up right now. But I'm almost 100% knowing that the Grand Chapter, they're not within the General Grand Chapter. And also, at least from what I remember, is that they call it the Holy Royal Arch, not the Royal Arch that you find in pretty much everywhere else. And they also do not have a past master's degree. I believe they just go Mark, Most Excellent, and then Royal Arch. And so I was just wondering if there was some kind of progression where the degree work seems closer. Because I mean, the ancients were very focused on higher degrees. That was kind of their thing. So I was just curious about that.
No, I wish I could give you
so go join some
better answers on that.
Go join them right now.
Well, I do. I mean, I do know that, and I brought it up a year ago. That I know that when you had Brother Don McAndrews on, I didn't catch him mention it, but when you had the talk about the operatives, I know they're York Rite, and they had their first American quarry in Allentown, and they met in our temple. So I know we have some York Rite, and we're northern Masonic jurisdiction, so not everyone's a fan of that.
Too bad RJ's missing this one. All right, hey Paul, why don't you drop one more nugget of wisdom on us before we switch to social media? So what's one last factoid that's going to blow our mind?
Okay, here's a fun one. So if you guys are voting in a lodge, how many black balls does it take to deny someone membership?
1.
Well, obviously 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. The correct answer is 3.
Oh.
That's a relatively new addition as of 2010. We take 3 black balls, but it's still a single dissenting voice, because if you have a problem, you can still go to your district deputy grand master, but it is and the actual balloting process, it's 3 black balls.
All right. Let's see what social media says about that. Jason.
Yes.
Take us away. I see you've been active on there.
Yes, absolutely, and need to actually start with our good friend and brother Joshua Ney, who felt it necessary to mention to Nick that the Junior Master of Ceremonies, Perseverant, and Senior Master of Ceremonies all have swords
What?
in Pennsylvania Masonry.
Oh yeah, you guys don't have sword officers?
What?
We've got a
yeah,
Tyler.
We stick them outside. Yeah.
Oh yeah, our Tyler has a sword, but yeah, all three of the Pursuant and the Masters of Ceremonies all have swords. Yeah.
Wait, I wouldn't have even had to join Commandery. I could have just stayed in Lodge.
Yeah,
What?
well, it's not like you keep the sword. They're the Lodge's swords, but still. If you really wanted a sword, sure, I'll put you in that chair.
Sweet.
So,
And you
are
get to
those
bring it
so-
out, too.
Are they like is there some kind of ritualistic? Obviously, you can't go into it, but I mean, are they? And I want to know. Do you do something with them?
Okay, so the Pursuant will have his sword out every single meeting. The Masters of Ceremonies will have their swords out every single degree, and in the first degree, they get to be a little creative with them, shall we say.
Woohoo!
Yes, they do.
Nice.
So Richard Ingham did confirm that the Worshipful Master does 90% of the talking in all three of the degrees. So it gets it back to the dictation versus interactive dichotomy between the ancients and the moderns.
Mhm.
And Paul, you should know that your current Worshipful Master and Junior Warden of Greenleaf are both watching tonight.
Hi, guys.
Represent.
That's good.
And actually, that's about it as far as social media tonight.
So yeah, it looks like a lot of Pennsylvania guys are supporting you tonight, Paul. So that's good. And
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, here's something from Gordon Renfro. Newly installed Worshipful Master of Diversity Lodge number 330. Congrats, bro. He says 3 black balls is a great idea. One could be that a single brother has an issue for whatever reason, and the lodge could be missing out on a great brother. And I think this warrants conversation.
Oh, I hate that idea.
that is pretty much the exact reason that Grand Master put that in. Is that the thoughts were that there are certain, Pennsylvania has an unfortunate reputation of it's Philadelphia in the east, Pittsburgh in the west, and Kentucky in the middle. And we have a lot of country lodges with a lot of older brethren who have certain, shall we say, social views that, I'll be blunt here, like they would blackball Juan just looking at him. And that's not right. But there are we know there's lodges that do that.
Changing the black ball rules does not. that is fixing the symptom.
That's a topic for another show.
Holy smokes! I am raring
Well,
to
that's the compromise was seen as you still have a single dissenting voice. Is that if you don't like Juan because he robbed a bank 10 years ago, you can still go to the District Deputy Grand Master and say that. But that takes away some of the analysis.
That's going in the queue. That's going in the backlog.
Okay. Coming June 2016.
Also,
I agree with John.
Gordon did also ask, how many do you need to open lodge?
How many members?
Yes.
I do not speak for the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania.
According to Richard Ingham, he says Worshipful Master, Senior Warden, Junior Warden, Perseverant, and Tyler to open the lodge.
Tyler. Okay. I mean, that's pretty much what I said. The Tyler is... Who needs a Tyler, right?
Paul, I have a question. Considering the significant difference between Pennsylvania ritual and meetings and all of that, when you have a visitor come from a different jurisdiction, do you coach them, talk to them about what to expect, or you just let them flail their arms in desperation?
We'll, we'll let them know.
It's the latter,
mean,
I swear.
Obviously we're going to ask, have you ever visited a Pennsylvania lodge before? If they say no, we'll tell them, you're going to see some things differently, and especially the sign, because some guys get hung up on the sign.
I was never asked, Paul.
Well, because I told you ahead of time. Just because you don't listen doesn't mean I didn't tell you. And also, as worshipful, my views as worshipful master were, I'd rather have my brethren see how other jurisdictions do it. And when I visited Patriot Lodge, I specifically did everything as a Pennsylvania Mason. How I addressed John, the sign I threw, I specifically did it in the Pennsylvania style, because that's how Pennsylvania Masons act. And if you're a Florida Mason and you do things differently, no one's gonna say, "Oh, that guy's not a Mason. He doesn't know what he's doing." Pennsylvania Masons are well aware that we're different.
When in
Rome. And when in Rome.
Whenever I visit a Prince Hall, the Prince Hall lodges out here, the things are a little bit different, and it's one of those. I just do what I do, and that's what I was told. They said to me, the Grand Master, I've chatted with him before a lot, and so he'll just say, you know what, just do what you do. Don't do what we do. Just do what you do, and that's the easiest. That I always do that when in Rome thing anyway. So.
Yeah, because trust me, half my brothers throw the signs wrong anyway. So.
Alrighty. Well, it sounds like it's that time to start wrapping up, and let's give the quiet one tonight, Juan Sepulveda, the floor, and allow him to wax poetic. Brother Juan.
I can't wait to go back to Pennsylvania and sit through a tiled meeting. I would like to see it, because one thing is to see slight variations, but it sounds like there's a big difference, so it's a treat. And I know I've mentioned before, when I went with Brother Victor to Georgia and we sat down, the differences weren't great, but there were enough differences that we felt like it was the first time we were sitting in the lodge. So we're just looking around like, oh my God, look how they do this, look how they do that. So that's a feeling that's pretty neat, which should be an incentive for brothers out there that are listening to travel if they can. And when you go on vacation somewhere, if you can, without injuring your family and your familiar relations, if you can sneak out and go to a lodge, arrange it and give yourself that treat. For the brothers out there, I encourage you to go to thewindingstairs.com. I promise I have an episode coming up very soon. The reason it's been delayed is because I've been working on an enormous project that should start tomorrow. It's not a Masonic project. This is a business venture that I've been working on for quite a while now, and I wanted, in honor of my father, whose birthday is tomorrow, and who is the nicest gentleman I know, I'm starting a business about being a gentleman. So I invite you to check it out. The website is not live yet, but it will be going live June 24th, thegentleman'sbrotherhood.com. So I invite you brothers to check it out. If you care about manners, common courtesy, if you are interested in being an overall nicer gentleman, you definitely want to check it out.
All right.
Thank you, brothers.
And feliz cumpleaños a tu papá.
Muchas gracias.
Alrighty. Nick Johnson.
Well, I'm going to have to get out to Pennsylvania, because I'm not just intrigued, I'm enthralled, because you said swords inside a lodge room. That's awesome.
Multiple swords.
Multiple swords. Awesome. Second, Bulky from Perfect Strangers was made a Mason there. We know this because on Reddit, we actually somehow, I cannot even explain how it happened, but Bronson Pinchot actually did a double AMA. He did an AMA, and then he did an AMA on our Freemasonry, talking about why he is no longer a member of a lodge, and it was a fascinating AMA to read. But Bulky from Perfect Strangers. I know I'm going back to the 80s. I mean, we're going way back there, but he was. I know him better as the dude from Langoliers, so, but there you go. But no, I'm totally intrigued. I've seen emulation, and even if it's, and it's really funny. We were chatting because we had some brothers from Internet Lodge in Minneapolis, and this one guy sent me a blog post that he had sent, and he discussed how he found our ritual very interesting because it's so. I'm trying to think what it was. Dynamic, he said very spirited. That's what he's called it, very spirited. And so I'd like to see more. I'd like to see the whole spectrum because it just seems, that even though we're telling the same story, seeing it from a different view is probably a better way to go. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get out to Big Time, Pennsylvania. I have a blog, millennialfreemason.com, 2 L's, 2 N's, and I just posted a blog post that actually was kind of like a embed video of The Predator back in the Dark Ages, and it was like a fan film, and it was absolutely hilariously awesome and fun. So I just thought that was awesome. I will be blogging again. I have some stuff that I'd like to. I have secret projects that are coming out. They're secret. I can't tell you. So don't ask. John?
Everybody and their secret projects. Alrighty. Thank you, Nick. Jason Richards.
Do they involve sheeple?
I am not at liberty to discuss that.
Sheeple fan fiction. All right, go.
Yeah. Anyway, hey everybody, thanks so much for watching. As far as my final thoughts are concerned, this discourse on the differences between Masonic traditions and rituals and just the way Masons do business from one Grand Lodge jurisdiction to another really just hits home the fact that as a Mason, you need to travel. And you need to travel often because you need to realize that we are a universal brotherhood. However, we do things a little differently. And you never know. You might see something, or you might hear something in a degree or in a meeting in another jurisdiction, and it might be something you absolutely fall in love with. I was fortunate enough to go to Omaha, Nebraska to see a Master Mason degree, and there was part of the degree there that was different from Virginia ritual, and that little snippet there just caught my attention, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous. So please travel. Go and exercise your right as a Master Mason, because it's a fantastic benefit that we get as Freemasons.
All right, thank you, Jason.
Yep.
And
That's all I got.
Special guest a chance to chime in and give his final thoughts.
All right, I want to hit 2 points. First of all, Brother Anthony Perello, my junior warden, kindly reminded me just now that we have a full slate of degree work this fall because we are dark right now. So come September, pretty much most Mondays in September and October, feel free to come to the Allentown Masonic Temple in Allentown, Pennsylvania, big time Allentown, Pennsylvania, and see some big time degree work by. Now I'm going to brag. The best degree team in the 10th Masonic District in the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, that being the Brothers of Greenleaf Lodge number 561. I'm sure Brother Anthony's doing some of those degrees. He does a bang-up job. And maybe if you ask me nicely, maybe I'll do a degree too, though not a third. And secondly, if big time Allentown, Pennsylvania is out of your way, there's another city in the Commonwealth, Philadelphia. Perhaps you've heard of it. And in Philadelphia, right next to City Hall, there's, and this is where I'm really going to brag, and I don't care if I offend you, the most beautiful Masonic building in the country.
It's gorgeous.
And that is the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. If you do one thing, and one thing only, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, go to Grand Lodge. It is amazing. And I know you have that awesome George Washington monument in Virginia, and it is beautiful, and it's bigger. But the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania is it's amazing, and it's the crown jewel of what we do, of our, that has our museum and everything. And if you, like I said, I know Jonathan and Jason have been there and really enjoyed it, and you will too. So.
And that's where the Masonic Restoration Foundation Symposium is happening this year as well.
That's correct. And you can find that out at
There it is. There's
www.masonicrestorationfoundation.org. And you can register to attend on August 21st through 23rd. Jason and I will try to be there. So, beautiful building, good work, go Masons.
Masons are awesome, man.
Anything else, Paul?
Oh, of course. Boston Beer Company makes delicious products that you should all enjoy.
Oh, gosh. This podcast was not brought to you
By Sam Adams.
by Sam Adams. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
I got nothing. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the show, support us by buying a pin at themasonicroundtable.com/shop. Paul, you've been great. I love you as a brother and friend, and always have and always will. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for watching, and keep searching for more light.
It's
And his internet failed. Perfect timing.
Okay, kill it.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you for watching. Keep searching for more light. Bye.